Greetings and salutations to you one and all. It is me, the Ravenous Spectre. As you can see, I'm actually using my webcam, my Logitech webcam, to be able to record this. Honestly, it kind of slipped my mind for me even being able to make any videos on my camera. To be quite honest, I didn't even think about installing the new drivers on it, and sure enough I have, and this is where we are now. Which I'm actually glad that I did, because looking at the whole quality issue with this, it looks a whole hell of a lot better than it ever did on my cell phone and also on the older Sony CyberShot camera that I had. So uh, I guess maybe I'll use this one from now on in case something happens in the future where I want to get a different camera. Part of the mess behind me, I've been going through some anime DVDs of mine, and I just finished laundry and dried some clothes and was folding them, hanging them up, or whatever, so, but you're not here to look at my room. You're here to look at my pretty face and everything I gotta say. So anyways, this is one little video that I want to make regarding wrestling. I know I haven't put out a wrestling video on this channel since I had actually mentioned that that's was going to be one of the things that was going to be on this channel, but surely enough, that's what's going to end up happening right now. And that is the WWE Attitude Era. Well, it was WWF at the time, but now it's known as WWE, since they got into that whole debacle with the World Wildlife Federation, which is really stupid to me, considering the fact that they changed the WWE when they had WWF for years and years on end, and they just had to change it because the World Wildlife Federation got their panties in a bunch. I don't know the whole story. I'm not going to look into it. I heard some things about it, but whatever. It is what it is. Maybe it's because they were getting out of the whole Attitude Era thing and was going over to PG. So maybe that was another reason for it. I don't really know. But anyways, what I'm saying here is that I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud. I'm seriously not. Hang on a second. I was just checking my door. Um, I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud or anything here. A lot of people talk about how the Attitude Era was the greatest era in wrestling, and honestly, it was, because they had competition. Then they had WCW against WWF at the time, and even ECW was around. I think even ECW was kind of probably trying to compete with both companies, but they weren't really getting out there like WCW and WWF was with all the money that WWF and WCW had going. But both companies did end up taking ideas from ECW just as well, like with the hardcore title and all of that. But that's back then when wrestling was great. Competition was what drove it. That was the energy that drove pro wrestling. Nowadays, you have like a few other pro wrestling deals out there. You got like Ring of Honor. I don't think they have any type of TV deal going on. And now you got TNA, and they're fixing to be sold out. And of course, you have WWE. That's the juggernaut of the entire wrestling world. And you've also got some Japanese wrestling federations that are over in Japan. I guess obviously you can see those online. And you have Lucha Underground, which is only on the El Rey network. And I think it's also online too, I suppose, like on YouTube and things like that. But I've never really taken the time to really see it. I think I've seen like a couple matches online, but that was about it. And I don't have the El Rey channel, which, to be quite honest, I don't really care. I would like to check out Lucha Underground. Maybe there's a chance it could actually show up on Netflix or something else of that nature, since I do have Netflix. But the deal is that, well, I'm just kind of sticking with WWE, even though there is some standout moments for it, but other times there's not. It's just like, it's just mediocre. It really is just mediocre. Beyond all comprehension, it's just like, I don't really care about wrestling like I used to back in the day. It's just really boring. It's like the same trite bullshit that it is every single week. Like I said, there's a few standout moments here and there with some of the wrestlers and some of the matches, and maybe even at some of the pay-per-views, but it's still the same stuff. There's nothing exciting that happens like it used to back in wrestling, back in the Attitude Era. I'm not trying to sound morbid or nothing, but yeah, you had everything that was going on when it came to teenagers and adult males, like dealing with the blood and the violence and the chairs and everything, and the foul language and the bra and panties matches and all of that. I'm not trying to sound like a sycophant or anything like that, but the thing is, that was one of the things every week, all of those things combined, that just really brought fans in, with just the insanity, the amount of nuttiness that happened. You didn't know what to expect because you had competition. There's no competition going against WWE, and thus they're just barely trying to keep their ratings above water. That's all that it is. That's all it really is. I mean, think about it how it is now. They have the mediocre PG era that's going on, and anytime the ratings start to drop, oh, they got to do something bombastic and they got to do something wild and crazy just to be able to get those ratings just above water so that they can go back to their mediocrity again. And I don't understand why they want to stick with that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would think with you being a company, you want to do the best that you can to grab in as many fans as you can. For example, just look at the 3 hours of Raw that they had, which to be quite honest, I think they should go back to 2. They should knock out one of those hours. That's one reason why I DVR wrestling. I'm not going to sit there for, technically you're probably looking at maybe a little over 2 hours, 2.5 hours of wrestling altogether, but then you have to sit there through the commercials and all of that crap. I just fast forward through all the commercials because they take more commercials break than I can even count, and I'm sick of that. It's like, let's have 5 minutes of wrestling. Oh, let's have a break during the middle of the match and go to a commercial. Let's have a few more minutes of wrestling. Let's have somebody talk. Let's still go to a commercial. I'm fast forwarding through all that, man. And the content they're providing isn't as interesting as it was back in the Attitude Era. People always say, we're just let go with the Attitude Era. That was all in the past. I understand that. That's true, and we have to just forget it and just leave it as it is and just look at maybe wrestling DVDs and Blu-rays that we've had in the past dealing with the Attitude Era and just relive the nostalgia of it. And I mean, as of right now, from my perspective, with me going on the WWE Network, I've searched this out. Maybe you guys can help me out. Maybe I'm missing it or something, but it seems like WWE has taken the Attitude Era episodes off of there. You know, it's like I guess it's kind of seemed like they're trying to punish the fans for what? It was one of the greatest eras in wrestling because there was a time I was watching the Attitude Era episodes and I go on there and I don't see them anymore. Why can't they just stay exactly where they were? I think it was like their archive footage or something like that, and you could actually go and look at Attitude Era episodes. And I was doing that at one point until I went on there one day and I was like, well, fuck, it's not on there anymore. You know, it's not our fault that your product is mediocre as shit. It's not our fault. You know, the creative is shit. The writers are shit. You know, there really needs to be some firings and some hirings to actually make some interesting writing for the characters and for the matches and all of that. It's on your end, WWE, that is causing this to happen, and you're going and taking away one of the greatest eras in wrestling off the WWE Network, because I sure don't see it on there anymore. The main place that I always go to go find the Attitude Era episodes aren't on there. They're not on there anywhere. Unless I'm missing it, unless they were putting it back on there again at some point, I have no freaking clue. But the bottom line is, hire new writers, get new content, stop going over the same old mediocre crap every single week. People are getting tired of it. That's one reason why people are getting out of wrestling. That's one reason why people are actually moseying right along to other like TNA and to Lucha Underground and things like that. That's another reason why there's also, from my perspective, from what I've been seeing, numbers dwindling and dropping down hour after hour when it comes to Raw. I mean, what other way is there to say it? I mean, if you actually have interesting wrestling, interesting matches, interesting characters, then you're going to have the fans there. And it's just ridiculous to me how WWE isn't realizing this. I'm not saying you have to go and, oh, bring back the Attitude Era. And would it be great? Yeah, it would. Do they hint at it? Do they do little cock teases from time to time? Yeah, they do. They absolutely do, especially on their pay-per-views. Which another thing that kind of gets to me is, why is it that you're going to be so censorshipy on the pay-per-views when it's not on USA Network? You know, USA Network ain't going to be able to have anything to say about, oh, you're showing blood, or oh, you're showing this, or oh, you're showing that, because of your PG, you know, era thing that you have going on the USA Network. Why can't you just do whatever you want to do on your own network with the pay-per-views? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not like you really have any affiliation with the USA Network on there like that. So, I don't know. I mean, this is just me giving my opinion. This is me giving my thoughts on why I thought the Attitude Era was so great. Well, actually, it's more me ranting about WWE and the PG era. But that just goes to show how much excitement you had during the Attitude Era, how much unpredictability you had, how many interesting characters you had, how many interesting match types you had, the whole 9 yards, just everything. Especially with the competition that was going back and forth between WCW and WWF at the time. The characters, you know, in WWF, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, The Undertaker, Mankind, Hardcore Holly, Al Snow, you know, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, which that's, you know, Mick Foley and Caddyshack dude loving Mankind all in one. But it was just it was insanity on everything that happened every single week, and there was a lot of memorable moments that came out of that. And it just seems to me nowadays like WWE isn't really caring. And you know, it's kind of like one thing's like, oh, you're just a morbid person. You just want to see blood and gore. No, that doesn't have anything to do with it. It has to do with the fact of having interesting, making things unpredictable, having interesting characters, having interesting matches. I know I mentioned it before, but some people have come at me with that, like, oh, well, you just want to have blood and gore and titties and ass and all of that. No, I don't. I want interesting wrestling and interesting story and characters and all of that, because it's predictable week after week. You know, it seems like, you know, WWE wants to claim, oh, well, we know what the fans want. Well, clearly you don't know what the fans want, because your numbers keep dwindling down, your ratings keep going down. You don't know what the fans want. Your writers think that they know what the fans want, but clearly they don't, because the numbers are right there. The proof is in the pudding. So there you go. I don't know how hard it is to understand that, to realize that the content that's being put out there is mediocre as shit every single week. So anyways, I don't know what the future is going to come of wrestling in the future when it comes to WWE. Maybe there's a chance they could get some competition. I don't know. But they bloody well need it in order to be able to advance their product to something that's a hell of a lot more interesting, besides having to see Roman Reigns go out there every single week and have the shittiest mic skills I think I've ever seen on a wrestler. He's an okay with wrestling, but his mic skills are shit. I mean, honestly, I can't stand to hear him open his mouth. He either needs to be a silent protagonist or antagonist, whatever WWE is going to do with him, and just have him beat people's asses, or have a mouthpiece like with Brock Lesnar, like with having Paul Heyman be Brock Lesnar's mouthpiece or something along those lines. I mean, the man can go out there and he can wrestle well. I can definitely say that. But when it comes to being on that mic, oh my God, dude. I mean, even though he's kin to The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson as I refer to him now, you know, because he's not wrestling anymore. He just go by his real name because that's the way it is in his movies. I mean, what else is there to say? You know, obviously he didn't inherit his talent skills from The Rock, that's for sure. So, I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous to me on how WWE also tries to shove that down people's throats with Roman Reigns. I mean, he was great in the Shield. I'd love to see a Shield reunion again. That would be absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen sometime in the future, whether they're faces or heels. But, I mean, that would be a wonderful thing to see, especially when Seth Rollins finally comes back, because Seth Rollins is one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE. Honestly, like, I was running out of so many reasons to watch WWE for the longest time, and I think the Wyatt I believe it was the Wyatt family and Seth Rollins and let me see. Actually, off the top of my head, those were probably the main two things that was kind of bringing me back to wrestling. And it even seems like the Wyatt family is starting to go downhill. So whenever Seth Rollins happens to come back, maybe things will kind of ramp up a little bit. But, you know, WrestleMania is going to be coming up here soon, and I guess we'll just see what happens with Shane and The Undertaker. You know, I mean, obviously, you people are going to know if you end up seeing this video at a much later date. But anyways, I can only hope that there's going to be great things in the future for WWE. You know, we'll see what happens. Maybe Shane is a one-shot attraction, like, ooh, let's get people attracted to WrestleMania and have him lose against The Undertaker, and then he goes off into obscurity again. Maybe that's just all what it is. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But it just seems like knowing WWE's current track record, it just seems like it's probably just going to be the same crap as it's always been. It's just like this. It's just, they're on a wave. It's just like, oh, we're going up, now we're going down. We're coming up a bit, we're going down. We'll go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, just going straight down. And then it's way, and then it's you know, can't we just have like a level line way up here, you know, and maybe even going up a little higher? I don't know. Anyways, I'm sorry for that seeming like it was just a rant dealing with WWE nowadays. I love wrestling. I've always been a wrestling fan all of my life. I'll continue to watch wrestling, but from my perspective of the way that things are going on, you know, it's not as enticing to me as it used to be. It's like my father used to say when he was alive. He used to, every time I'd sit down to watch wrestling when I was a kid, he'd be like, oh, well, it's time to go to church. I love my dad to death, but he was a smart ass about that. So I was just like, yeah, I guess it is. Well, I didn't say that, but that's what I thought. you know, just because it was my favorite show to watch every week, it's like, oh, we're going to church. Think like it's a religion or something, which in actuality, when I got out of high school, I was planning on being a pro wrestler. I absolutely was. But I thought to myself, I probably wouldn't be able to deal with the whole traveling deal. I'm not really a traveling type of person, to be honest. So, you know, obviously that's going to have to be in the pro wrestling world. And dealing with me, I don't really think I could have handled it. I remember one time my dean at the high school that I went to, he actually ended up leaving me a letter at one point before I graduated, and he wanted to know if I could end up giving him my autograph before it became too expensive when I became a famous pro wrestler one day. But anyways, yeah, that didn't happen. So, I mean, it's probably all for the better as it is. You know, I mean, it seemed like it would have been fun to go, but with the whole traveling aspect, I just felt like I probably couldn't deal with it. But I think there was actually a training camp for pro wrestlers near me somewhere. I don't necessarily know, but yeah. Anyways, I'll go ahead and end this video, and hopefully you guys will actually like this uh, resolution better. You know, HD or what? I don't freaking know. I just want to have it where it looks better. I want to have it where the freaking video looks presentable a hell of a lot more than looking blurry and everything, and you know, with a piss colored screen and the freaking thing flickering in and out with the camera that you guys have seen so much of. So hopefully this will actually be helpful, and I apologize for the glare on my glasses, but I have to look at the camera, and here's the screen, and here's my glasses, and I can't help it, I have to wear glasses, you know. So hopefully, you know, you guys can get something out of this, and maybe this camera will actually work better. This is probably the longest video I think I probably have done. But anyways, I will talk at you taters later. So, later taters.